What if the version of you listening right now isn't the only one experiencing this moment, but just one ripple in a larger stream of consciousness, unfolding across past and future all at once? If time isn't a straight line, but a field you move through, then maybe your awareness isn't limited to the present at all. Maybe your consciousness is already entangled with the echoes of who you were, and the possibilities of who you might become. And if ideas like quantum entanglement, retrocausality, and non-locality apply not only to particles, but to minds, then perhaps the story of you is far more connected, far more fluid than we've ever been taught to believe. Welcome to this quiet space where physics softens into wonder, and where curiosity can drift without needing to hold on tightly. If explorations like this, these gentle wanderings through the nature of consciousness and the strange fabric of reality, speak to you, feel free to like or subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy drifting through these mysteries. Otherwise, just stay with me now as we slowly step through the doorway of a question that's been waiting for us for a very long time. Imagine sitting at the edge of a river at dusk. The water moves with a patient certainty, carrying reflections of trees, clouds, and fading light. You reach into the current and touch the surface. The moment your fingers meet the water, a small disturbance begins to spread outward, not just in one direction, but in all directions. Ripples move forward through the current, but also backward toward the place you touched, forming patterns that overlap, interfere, and continue long after the moment has passed. For a long time, physicists assumed time was nothing like that river, an arrow pointing only forward, never back, never sideways. But the deeper we look into the quantum world, the more the river becomes a better metaphor than the arrow. And now, some of the most daring thinkers in physics and consciousness studies are whispering a possibility once dismissed as fantasy: that consciousness may not simply sit in the present, but may ripple across time. The seeds of this idea go back to one of the strangest discoveries in physics: quantum entanglement. When two particles become entangled, their properties remain connected no matter how far they move apart. Einstein famously called this spooky action at a distance, a phrase that carried both skepticism and awe. But entanglement turned out to be real, so real that it powers quantum computing and quantum encryption today. Yet, entanglement doesn't only work across space. Experiments by Nobel laureate John Clauser and later by physicist Nicholas Geeson showed that entanglement isn't limited by distance, or even by time. A particle measured now can be correlated with the state of another particle measured long before the first one even existed. This idea, entanglement through time, is known as temporal non-locality. Means past states and future states can be woven together by correlations that don't obey the rules of classical cause and effect. But what does that have to do with you, with consciousness, with the sense of being a self moving through time? To explore that, we have to step gently into the work of physicists like Yakir Aharonov, who proposed the two-state vector formalism. In this framework, the present moment doesn't just arise from the past pushing forward, it is also shaped by the future pulling backward. Every moment is defined by two waves of information, one coming from what has already happened, and one coming from what has not yet happened but will. This isn't metaphor. Experiments based on Aharonov's ideas, weak measurements, quantum post-selection, time-symmetric formulations, consistently show results that classical physics cannot explain. The future leaves fingerprints on the present. And if the universe is fundamentally time-symmetric, then consciousness, as part of that universe, might also be influenced by moments that haven't yet happened. But what does that feel like? Does it feel like intuition? Like déjà vu? Like patterns of emotion or insight that come from nowhere? Perhaps. But let's not jump ahead too quickly. Instead, sit with the idea that the self, yourself, may be less like a point in time and more like a field. A field gently vibrating across many moments, connected not by memory alone, but by a deeper kind of coherence. Neuroscientists don't yet know what consciousness is or where it truly comes from, but a few clues suggest it may not be confined to the present. The brain generates rhythms, oscillations that align across regions separated by distance and delay. But these rhythms don't simply flow forward in time. They loop, they anticipate, they respond to events that haven't yet occurred. Predictive processing models in neuroscience hint that the brain constructs the present moment by drawing inferences from the future it expects. And expectation itself may be a shadow cast by the future onto the present. Meanwhile, in the world of quantum biology, researchers at UC Berkeley, the University of Vienna, and the Max Planck Institute have revealed that entanglement can survive in warm biological systems far longer than previously believed. Photosynthetic organisms maintain quantum superpositions. Bird navigation relies on quantum coherence. Even olfaction, the simple act of smelling, appears to involve quantum tunneling. If life uses quantum processes, why not consciousness? And if consciousness uses quantum processes, why assume those processes are confined to now? There's a quiet, emerging suggestion in theoretical physics that consciousness may be an extended object in time. Not stretched like a string, but present across multiple temporal slices simultaneously, like a melody that exists not in a single note, but in the relationship between notes. You are not the note you are currently hearing. You are the whole melody. The physicist Carlo Rovelli, with his relational interpretation of quantum mechanics, proposes that events gain meaning only in the relationships between them. If consciousness is a relational phenomenon, it may not belong to a moment but to the space between moments, a space that spans past and future. Imagine now that your consciousness is like a lantern, shining not only outward into space but also along the corridors of time. The past glows behind you. The future glows ahead, and your awareness is the soft illumination that fills the space between them. Not a spotlight, but a gentle atmospheric glow that touches everything quietly. When you remember something vividly, you're not retrieving a frozen event. You are re-establishing coherence with a moment that still exists in its own frame of reference. And when you anticipate something, truly anticipate it with a feeling deeper than thought. You may be responding to correlations forming between your present consciousness and a future version of you, a future already entangled with this moment in subtle ways. Some researchers, like physicist Matthew Fisher, have proposed that quantum processes in the brain, potentially involving nuclear spins in phosphorus atoms, could maintain coherence long enough to allow for time-extended quantum states. Others, like Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, suggest that microtubules within neurons might sustain coherent patterns that bridge intervals of time, shaping conscious moments not as discrete frames, but as interconnected pulses. In their model, each moment of awareness isn't isolated. It's a collapse of possibilities influenced by both what has been and what will be. If this is true, then your consciousness isn't trapped in the present. It is braided through time. Picture the braid. 3 strands: past, present, future. They weave together not in straight lines but in loops, spirals, soft, curving arcs. When you feel drawn to something without knowing why, one strand tugs gently on the others. When you sense the echo of a decision long before you make it, it might be a vibration traveling along the braid from a future moment back into now. This doesn't erase free will. It makes free will richer. Instead of choosing from a single moment, you may be choosing from a network of moments, your decision shaped by who you have been and who you will become. The philosopher Henri Bergson spoke of time not as a sequence but as duration, a continuously unfolding whole. Modern quantum models, time-symmetric equations, and entanglement experiments hint that he may have been closer to the truth than we realized. Imagine now a scene. You stand on a quiet path at night. Trees arch overhead, their branches forming a gentle canopy. Between them, pockets of starlight appear. Distant suns whose light began traveling long before you were born. As you breathe, you realize the light. Touching your eyes is a message from the past, arriving only now. But if the universe is time-symmetric, then perhaps you are also sending your own message, a subtle ripple of consciousness, back toward those stars, back toward the younger version of yourself who once looked up and wondered. The boundary between past and future softens. The path beneath you becomes a bridge. You are not walking through time. You are diffusing through it, gently, like mist through starlit air. There's an even stranger idea from Aharonov's work: weak values. In these experiments, measurements influenced by both past preparation and future post-selection produce results that seem impossible. Electrons taking trajectories they shouldn't. Photons displaying behaviors that defy classical explanation. Some physicists interpret these results as purely mathematical artifacts. Others see them as hints that the future truly does shape the present. If particles can be influenced by future measurements, could consciousness, which arises from countless such particles interacting, also be shaped by its future states? Think of a moment in your life when you felt guided by something you couldn't explain. A moment when you changed direction suddenly without knowing why, only to realize later it was the right choice. Perhaps that guidance wasn't a random impulse. Perhaps it was coherence, a resonance between your present consciousness and your future consciousness, a subtle alignment across time. Not destiny, not predetermination, just entanglement, just correlation, just the quiet hum of the quantum field of awareness binding your moments into a continuous arc. You may wonder why this matters. Why explore such soft, almost dreamlike possibilities? Because if consciousness is entangled across time, then every moment of awareness becomes part of a larger tapestry. You are not merely reacting to the past. You are participating in a conversation with yourself. The you that has been, and the you that will be. The present becomes a meeting place, a point of contact where the river of time touches itself. And in that place, you may find a deeper stillness, a deeper continuity, a sense that your life is not a series of disconnected scenes, but an unfolding story woven through dimensions you barely touch. As we drift deeper into this thought, allow yourself to imagine all your moments. Childhood memories, future dreams, forgotten experiences, unmade choices. not as scattered beads, but as pearls on a single thread. The thread extends far behind you and far ahead, glimmering in a subtle light that doesn't come from any single time, but from the whole timeline at once. That thread is your consciousness. The shimmer is entanglement, and the gentle bending of the thread is the flow of time as you experience it. You are not bound to now. You are connected to the whole of yourself. And in the next part of our journey, we'll drift even further into this possibility, exploring how memory, intuition, quantum measurement, and the deep architecture of space-time might be woven together into something far more mysterious and beautiful than the linear story we've been taught to believe. In the quiet space where we last drifted, we left a single thread shimmering. The idea that your consciousness might be not a point in time, but a field stretching softly across past and future. As we continue, imagine that thread now beginning to glow a little brighter, not with urgency, but with a kind of calm inevitability, as though it has always wanted to show you something gentle, something ancient, something that has been unfolding beneath your thoughts for your entire life. And now, as we move deeper, the pace softens, the rhythms lengthen, and the boundary of the present becomes more fluid, like a tide slowly blurring the line between shore and sea. There's a moment many people experience, often in the middle of an ordinary day. You're walking somewhere, or stirring a cup of tea, or listening to a fragment of a song, and a strange sensation rises. The feeling that you've lived that exact moment before. Déjà vu. Neuroscience tries to explain it with misfiring circuits, with memory glitches, with processing delays. But some physicists whisper that this familiar echo might be something deeper. A small ripple of coherence between the present moment and another moment that hasn't fully unfolded yet. A tiny overlap between states of your consciousness braided across time. Not a memory from the past, but perhaps a faint echo from the future. The physicist Yakir Aharonov hinted at such loops through his work on time-symmetric quantum mechanics. According to him, every quantum event is shaped by initial conditions in the past and final conditions in the future. In this model, called the two-state vector formalism, the universe is not running from a beginning toward an end. It is held in place by both. The present is a meeting of two waves, one originating in what has already happened, and one originating in what will. If consciousness arises from quantum processes, then your awareness might feel the quiet pull of future states long before you reach them. Imagine this like a melody. You don't hear just one note at a time. You feel the meaning of the phrase because notes that haven't yet sounded still influence the shape of the music. A pause feels expectant because your mind anticipates the next sound. In the same way, your consciousness may anticipate not through logic or reasoning, but because a future version of you is already drawing the thread of awareness toward itself. This brings us into the realm of what physicists call retrocausality. The idea that effects might sometimes influence causes, that the arrow of time may bend more gently than we once believed. John Wheeler's delayed choice experiment suggested that a particle can behave as though it already knows how you will choose to observe it in the future. Your act of observation changes not only what the particle is doing now, but what it did before you looked. We don't yet know what this means for consciousness, but we can let the possibility unfold quietly. If particles can respond to future choices, perhaps awareness, built from countless such particles, might also be sensitive to the shape of what is coming. Now imagine yourself standing at the edge of a forest clearing at dusk. You watch a bird glide across the fading sky, and for a moment you have the distinct sensation that something is reaching toward you, not from behind, but from ahead. A decision you haven't made, a path you haven't walked, a version of you that is waiting, not pulling you forward, not forcing you, but resonating softly with your present self. You don't know why the moment feels familiar, but it does, as though the air itself remembers something you have not yet lived. Temporal entanglement makes such an idea scientifically possible, though still deeply mysterious. In experiments by physicists like Kaslav Bruckner and Christoph Simon, entanglement has been shown to persist between particles that never coexisted in time. A photon created in the present can be entangled with one already absorbed in the past. The thread between them doesn't care about chronology. It simply exists. If consciousness arises from distributed networks of quantum activity, in microtubules, ion channels, or molecular spin states, then the self might be a continuous entangled object stretching across your entire timeline. This might explain why certain memories feel alive even after decades, as if they haven't fully settled into the past. When you recall the smell of a childhood room, the laughter of someone long gone, or the uncertain electricity of a decision that changed you, it may not be a static snapshot you are pulling into the present. It may be that part of your consciousness still touches that moment directly, maintaining a quantum coherence that never fully collapses. The past might be closer than we think, not stored like a file, but woven into the dynamic, living fabric of awareness. Let this idea drift around you like a soft mist. Your consciousness may be a single organism extending across all your moments, touching each one lightly, like fingertips brushing across the pages of a book. Now imagine another moment, one that hasn't happened yet. You can sense its outline, perhaps in a dream, or in a sudden intuition, or in a moment of stillness when the future feels strangely solid. Some people describe this as the feeling of inevitability. Not fate, not destiny, but a sense that something is already in motion, even though you haven't stepped into it yet. Physics doesn't dismiss this entirely. The work of theorists like Carlo Rovelli suggests that time may not be fundamental, that events exist in a relational network, and before and after are constructs of perception. If so, then future events might exist in the same timeless field where your consciousness also resides. Picture a web glowing in the dark. Each node is a moment in your life. The web isn't built linearly. Instead, every node touches many others. When one trembles, the vibration spreads in all directions, pastward and futureward. Your choices today send ripples into both directions, shaping not only what will happen but also how you experience what has already happened. Perhaps this is why revisiting a memory at a different stage of life changes not just how you feel about it, but what you see in it. The moment is the same, but the consciousness entangled with it has shifted. As you step deeper into this web, you might notice something subtle. Some nodes glow brighter. These are the moments where your past and future selves overlap most strongly. The moments you remember vividly or anticipate intensely. They are the places where time feels thin, porous, almost translucent, where intuition flows easily, where decisions feel guided by something larger than thought. These might be the points of strongest entanglement, where your consciousness across time hums in harmony. Consider the stories of people who narrowly avoid danger because of a sudden impulse, or who meet someone they feel they've always known, or who choose a path that doesn't make sense logically, but later proves essential. These moments may not be coincidences. They might be alignments, brief windows where the resonance between your present and future consciousness becomes strong enough to feel. Not supernatural, just quantum. Just part of the deep architecture of time. Let's drift into another metaphor now, one that carries us deeper into the hypnotic rhythm of these ideas. Imagine your life as a long corridor lined with doors. Some doors are open, revealing bright memories you revisit often. Others are closed gently, containing events that shaped you quietly. And farther down the corridor, much farther, are doors you haven't reached yet. They shimmer faintly, as if lit from the other side. Now imagine that a thin, almost invisible strand of light runs through the keyholes of all of these doors, connecting them. That strand is your consciousness, moving not like a traveler but like a presence that fills the entire corridor at once. When you feel intuition, when déjà vu ripples through your awareness, it might be that your attention is touching one of those future doors, lightly, gently, even before you arrive. This is not a claim, it's an invitation, a soft possibility. But it aligns with experiments in quantum cognition, where researchers have shown that human decision-making sometimes behaves like quantum systems, displaying interference patterns and non-classical probability distributions. Your mind may be sampling not only present information, but a superposition of potential futures. Sit with that for a moment. Let your awareness rest on the idea of a future self reaching back, not to change your path, but to steady your hand as you walk it. As your breath slows, imagine the structure of space-time not as a frozen block where everything is predetermined, but as a shimmering field of potential, continuously crystallizing as consciousness interacts with it. Physicists like John Archibald Wheeler suggested that reality might be participatory, that the universe evolves through acts of observation. If consciousness is participatory in this way, then each moment of awareness helps shape the contours of time itself. You are not just moving through time, you are co-creating it. And now we drift even deeper into the softest parts of this idea. Imagine the future version of you, the one who has already lived through what you have yet to discover. Imagine them not as a stranger, but as a companion. Imagine that they are aware of you in this moment the way you are aware of who you were. There is tenderness in that connection, a sense of quiet understanding. They know the choices you are about to make. They know the places where you will struggle and the places where you will grow. And maybe, in the gentle architecture of temporal entanglement, they are already reaching toward you, not to intervene, but to walk beside you across the timeline you share. Now, imagine your past self as well, the child you once were, the teenager learning how to dream, the version of you who made mistakes, who held uncertainty, who longed for something they couldn't name. Imagine them reaching toward you too, not with regret or fear, but with hope. They are connected to you through the same thread. You are the future they leaned toward without knowing your shape. You are the outcome of their choices, the one who carries the light forward. And when the past and future selves touch the present, nothing collides. Instead, the three states blend into a single field of awareness, the consciousness that has always been you, stretching softly across time. As we approach the quiet end of this segment, imagine the river of time again. But now you are not sitting on the bank. You are the water. Every ripple, every current, every reflection belongs to you. The past doesn't flow away. The future doesn't flow toward you. All moments are present in the gentle depth beneath the surface, connected by the physics of awareness, by the entanglement that binds you to every version of yourself. And in the next part of our journey, we will drift further into this mystery, exploring how the architecture of space-time, the illusory nature of the present moment, and the strange mathematics of quantum information may reveal a hidden unity between all the moments of your life, and perhaps all consciousness everywhere. What if the present moment is not a boundary at all, but a veil? A thin, drifting membrane through which your consciousness moves with far greater freedom than your senses can perceive. Beneath this veil, time itself may be layered like gentle folds of fabric, each one holding a different version of you, each one touching the next so softly that the edges blur. As we drift further, imagine this veil becoming more translucent, revealing the quiet architecture beneath, a structure not built from seconds and minutes, but from relationships, correlations, entanglements that breathe through the quantum field of awareness. There is a theory in modern physics called the Wheeler-DeWitt equation, an equation so strange that it seems to erase time from the foundations of reality. In this view, the universe at its deepest level doesn't evolve from past to future. It simply is, a timeless configuration of possibilities. Time emerges only when consciousness interacts with this configuration, like a lantern illuminating one layer of a vast tapestry. If this is true, then consciousness is not moving through time. Consciousness is the movement that creates time's flow. Imagine now that each moment in your life is like a bead suspended in a clear, still liquid. The beads do not move. They do not progress. But your awareness is the hand that brushes along the string, feeling one bead, then the next, creating the sensation of sequence. In this timeless view of the universe, sometimes called the block universe, your past, present, and future already exist. But consciousness experiences them sequentially, one bead at a time. Yet quantum entanglement hints that the beads are not isolated. They influence each other, vibrating together gently across the strand. When your awareness touches one moment, it may cause another moment, far down the line, to shimmer in response. Now, soften the image. Let the beads dissolve into waves. Moments are no longer fixed shapes, but subtle ripples that rise and fade within a single ocean. When one ripple moves, others respond. A choice made now sends a tremor backward into moments you've already lived, shaping the meaning of memories, deepening their color, changing their emotional tone. Something that once felt painful may soften years later, not just because you changed, but because a future version of you reached back with a quieter understanding. This connection across time may not be emotional alone. It may be woven into the quantum nature of awareness. In the 2018 experiment by Procopio and colleagues, photons became entangled with themselves in different temporal orders. Their sequence, which came first and which came after, dissolved. The photons behaved as though time were a flexible arrangement, not a strict direction. If the smallest particles can exist in a superposition of temporal states, then perhaps consciousness, arising from countless such particles, carries the imprint of this fluidity. Imagine your mind not as a machine bounded by now, but as a field resonating with multiple moments. Thoughts drift in from places you haven't yet reached. Emotions arise from events you do not consciously remember. Inspiration appears like a spark from nowhere, but perhaps it is not nowhere. Perhaps it is a whisper from a future self who already knows how the story unfolds. There's a softness to this idea, a tenderness. It suggests that you are never alone, even within your own timeline. The version of you who learned, who suffered, who hoped, who dreamed, walks beside the version of you who is yet to come. You are accompanied across the entire span of your existence by your own awareness, threaded through time like light through glass. In the field of quantum information theory, researchers like Seth Lloyd suggest that the universe itself may be a giant quantum computer. If so, every moment is not an isolated outcome, but part of a computation that uses both forward-flowing and backward-flowing information. The present is the meeting point where these streams intersect. Consciousness, in this perspective, is the process of reading the output of both directions at once. Imagine standing at a quiet crossroads where two paths meet. One path stretching behind you into memories and shadows, the other reaching forward into possibility and light. But instead of choosing one direction, you feel both paths gently touching your awareness. The past is not fixed. The future is not empty. Both are filled with the presence of your consciousness moving through them. The crossroads is not a place. It is you. Now imagine a sky just after sunset. The light has softened into a blue that feels almost like silence. Stars begin to appear, one by one, tiny points of ancient light. Some of these stars died long ago. Some still burn. Yet their light reaches you in the same instant, across vast distances of time. When you look at them, you are gazing into the past and the present simultaneously. Something similar may happen inside your own mind. Thoughts that feel new may be older than you imagine, echoes of past experiences that never fully faded or glimmers from future moments sending quiet signals back. Physicist David Bohm described reality as an implicate order, a folded structure in which past, present, and future coexist in a deeper dimension. What you experience as the unfolding present is the result of this hidden order gently unfolding itself, like petals blooming in slow motion. Consciousness, according to Bohm, is part of this unfolding, not separate from it, not confined to one slice of time. Your awareness is a ripple within the larger field, unfolding and enfolding across layers of time with each breath. Picture now a hallway filled with mirrors. Each mirror reflects a different version of you, younger, older, hopeful, uncertain, learning, healing. Some mirrors show who you were, others show who you might become. Yet all the reflections are connected by the same movement, your consciousness turning gently to see them. In this hall, time is not linear, it is reflective. Every moment touches every other moment through the mirror-like surface of awareness. As we move deeper into this idea, allow yourself to feel the subtle warmth of continuity, the sense that you are part of a larger shape, a curve of existence that bends softly through the landscape of time. You are not standing still, but neither are you simply moving forward. Instead, you are participating in a delicate unfolding, where each moment is both a consequence of what came before and an invitation from what comes after. Physicist L. McCone once proposed that time's arrow, the direction we perceive, arises from the growth of quantum entanglement. As systems become more entangled, entropy increases, and the flow of time becomes apparent. If consciousness is entangled across your timeline, then the arrow of time is not something imposed on you. It is something you help create. Each moment of awareness may strengthen the thread connecting your past and future selves, weaving your timeline into a coherent, living whole. Imagine awareness now as a gentle wind moving through tall grass. The grass bends not all in one direction but in patterns, waves that travel outward, meeting other waves, flowing and merging. Each blade of grass is a moment in your life. Each breeze is a breath of consciousness. When the wind passes, the grass continues to sway long after, sending vibrations through the field. Your past selves feel the motion. Your future selves feel it too. In this view, consciousness across time is not an anomaly. It is natural. A field cannot be confined to one point. A melody cannot be limited to one note. A wave cannot exist only in one place. And you, your awareness, cannot be restricted to a single moment. Now imagine walking along a quiet shoreline at night. The tide is low, revealing patterns in the sand carved by currents long gone. You step forward, and the sand shifts under your feet, creating new patterns. Behind you, faint lines fade. Ahead of you, the sand waits, ready to receive the imprint of your movement. But beneath the top layer, the deeper sand holds the memory of countless tides, countless patterns. The beach is not blank. It is layered with history and possibility. In the same way, your consciousness walks across the sands of time, leaving impressions that ripple backward and forward. Some neuroscientists now speak of memory reconsolidation, the idea that every time you recall a memory, it changes. The act of remembering updates the memory with your present consciousness. Something similar may occur when you imagine the future. The act of imagining may send subtle influences into the moments waiting ahead, shaping their contours even before you arrive. Your consciousness is not simply observing your timeline, it is shaping it across its span. Picture now a soft light glowing in the center of your chest. Not a metaphysical light, but a symbol for the awareness you carry. This light shines outward through the corridors of time, illuminating the moments behind you and ahead. As it brightens, the shadows become gentler. The distance between who you were, who you are, and who you will be begins to soften, like fog dissolving in the first light of dawn. And now imagine that the timeline itself is not a line at all, but a loop, or a spiral, or a lattice of interconnected pathways. Your consciousness traces these paths with quiet curiosity, touching each point with equal presence. The future does not pull you. The past does not bind you. Instead, all the moments of your life exist like stars in a constellation. Your awareness draws the lines between them. As we drift deeper, imagine the field of time around you becoming a soft ocean. Your consciousness moves through it like a warm current, weaving through memories and possibilities with no need to cling or resist. Every moment is a wave rising from the same ocean. Every wave is connected beneath the surface, and your awareness is the gentle motion that reveals their unity. In the next part of this unfolding journey, we'll travel further into this ocean, exploring how time, identity, and the quantum field may be part of a single, seamless fabric, and how your consciousness, quietly entangled across that fabric, might be far more expansive than you have ever imagined. A question begins to rise in the quiet between thoughts. Not urgent, not loud, but steady, like a pulse beneath the surface of a lake. What if the boundary you think of as yourself is not drawn around this single moment, but stretched across every moment you have ever lived and ever will live? What if the awareness settling inside you now is only one facet of a consciousness that moves fluidly across the entire span of your existence? Let this question unfurl gently as we drift further into the subtle architecture of time. A landscape where past and future breathe softly into the present, and where your consciousness may be far larger than the moment your senses reveal. Imagine now that you are sitting in a dim room lit by a single candle. The flame flickers quietly, sending ripples of light across the walls. Shadows bloom and dissolve in slow motion. As your eyes adjust, you notice something curious. The shadows don't behave quite the way they should. They shift too smoothly, responding not just to the movements of the flame, but to something deeper, as though they are shaped by the memory of where the light once was, and the anticipation of where it will be. The room feels suspended between breaths. Light and shadow seem woven from the same subtle thread. This is how some physicists describe time at the quantum level, not as rigid, linear frames, but as overlapping patterns that influence each other across invisible distances. In certain experiments inspired by the work of Lucian Hardy and others, researchers discovered that the order of events can dissolve in quantum systems. Two events, A and B, can occur in such a way that neither happens strictly before or after the other. Instead, they coexist in a superposition of orders. A before, B, B, before A, both, neither. This phenomenon is known as indefinite causal order. If reality behaves like this beneath the surface, then consciousness, arising from the same underlying fabric, might also experience a form of temporal fluidity. Not consciously, not in the everyday perception of clocks and schedules, but subtly, in the undercurrent of awareness that flows beneath language and thought. Imagine your consciousness as a soft field permeating your timeline. When something important approaches, a decision, a turning point, a moment of profound change, the field anticipates it, just as ripples on a lake reveal the presence of something moving beneath the water before it breaks the surface. This anticipation might show up as intuition, or a quiet knowing, or a subtle shift in emotion you cannot explain. It may be that the future moment is already resonating through your field of awareness, shaping your present long before it arrives. The neuroscientist Carl Friston speaks of the brain as a prediction machine, constantly generating models of the world and updating them with new information. But perhaps prediction is only the surface-level explanation. Beneath the neural algorithms, there may be something deeper, a quantum sensitivity to correlations across time. The brain might not merely predict the future, it might be responding to it. Not through magic, but through the same time-symmetric relationships that govern entangled particles. Imagine now an ancient tree standing alone in a quiet meadow. Its roots stretch deep into the earth, touching soil that holds the memory of countless seasons. Its branches reach toward the sky, sensing winds that carry the scent of storms yet to come. The tree does not live only in the present. Its roots hold the past. Its leaves reach into the future. You are like this tree. Your consciousness has roots that sink into moments you've lived, and branches that extend into moments you haven't reached yet. When you sway, the entire structure moves. When a breeze touches your leaves, your roots feel it too. This interconnectedness echoes the ideas of physicist John Bell, whose work showed that entangled particles behave as if they are part of a single system, regardless of distance. If consciousness involves networks of quantum systems, in microtubules, molecular spins, or other structures yet to be discovered, then the entire timeline of your life may be one unified system. A shift in one part affects all the others. A moment of clarity in the present may illuminate a moment in the past. A quiet feeling in the present may be the first stirring of a future realization. Let your awareness drift now to the memories that have shaped you. Some rise clearly, like lanterns glowing on the surface of a dark river. Others rest deeper, softened by time, barely visible beneath the water. Yet even the deepest ones are not lost. They remain part of the river's current, influencing its flow. There is a theory in psychology called implicit memory, the idea that experiences you cannot consciously recall still guide your emotions, decisions, and behavior. But perhaps implicit memory is more than a neurological shadow. Perhaps it is an echo of your consciousness touching an earlier moment directly, maintaining a resonance that never quite fades. Now, imagine your future in the same way. Not as a distant horizon, but as a set of currents waiting to join the river. Some currents are strong, shaping the path your life naturally wants to follow. Others are gentle, subtle possibilities that shimmer at the edge of awareness. It may be that your consciousness is already brushing against these future currents, sensing their shape before you arrive. The physicist Hugh Price argues that if time is symmetric at its fundamental level, then our minds may be capable of detecting correlations from the future just as naturally as we detect memories from the past. Imagine you are holding a smooth, polished stone. It rests in your palm with a quiet weight, warm from your touch. You do not know where the stone came from. You do not know where you will place it next. Yet, in this moment, it holds the imprint of both the moments behind and the moments ahead. Consciousness may be like this stone, something that gathers impressions across time, carrying the warmth of future moments into the present, just as it carries the echoes of the past. In quantum information theory, the concept of quantum teleportation reveals something astonishing. Information can move between particles not by traveling through space, but by exploiting entanglement. The information seems to jump, unaffected by distance. If consciousness interfaces with quantum information, a possibility explored by thinkers like Penrose, Hameroff, and Fisher, then perhaps awareness also moves across time in this way. Not physically, not in the sense of traveling, but in the sense of coherence. A single pattern of awareness distributed across multiple temporal locations, like a song carried by different instruments in a symphony. Visualize now a vast night sky stretched across the horizon. Stars flicker like distant memories, and faint clouds of starlight drift like future possibilities. You stand in the center of this sky, your consciousness radiating outward in gentle waves. Each wave touches a star, a moment, and returns carrying the subtle vibration of that moment back to you. Some waves return quickly, touching moments close to the present. Others drift for what feels like long expanses of time before returning, bringing with them impressions from far ahead on your timeline. You do not feel this consciously, but the waves move regardless, shaping the quiet language beneath your thoughts. As you breathe, imagine these waves soothing the I boundaries between your moments, making the past softer, the future closer. Time begins to feel less like a sequence and more like a landscape, a place your awareness can move through with a fluid, dreamlike freedom. The philosopher Henry Bergson once described time as duration, a continuous flow in which past and present coexist. Modern quantum theories echo this idea, suggesting that the universe may store information in a way that transcends classical sequence. The present may be a spotlight that moves across a much larger field of conscious experience. Each time the spotlight shifts, it carries a trace of its previous positions, and a subtle inclination toward the positions it will assume next. Imagine walking down a path at twilight. The air is cool. The trees sway gently. You feel a sense of calm, but also a sense of recognition you cannot explain. Ahead, the path curves out of sight. Behind, the path glows under the memory of fading light. You are moving forward, yet each step feels guided, as though you have walked this way before, or will walk it again. The sensation is not déjà vu alone. It is something quieter, deeper, the feeling that the path exists across all your moments at once, and your consciousness is touching more than one as you walk. In this deepening sense of continuity, imagine the timeline of your life not as a straight line, but as a spiral. Each loop of the spiral represents a phase, a chapter, a turning. The spiral does not close. It expands outward endlessly. Your consciousness traverses the spiral like a soft breeze that moves through a shell, resonating at different points with different tones. Past and future positions on the spiral vibrate in harmony with your present awareness. When one point resonates, the entire structure responds. In the gentle quiet of this moment, the structure of time feels less like a boundary and more like a companion, something that moves with you, breathes with you, expands with you. And as your awareness drifts deeper into this continuity, you may begin to sense a truth beneath the theories and metaphors, that your consciousness is not a traveler in time, but the field through which time flows. The spiral of your life continues to unfurl, each loop expanding outward into a wider sense of presence, and the air around this idea becomes even softer, even quieter. Imagine now that the spiral isn't fixed in empty space, but suspended in a kind of luminous medium, a quantum field of awareness that doesn't belong to any one moment but to all of them at once. Every point on the spiral glows faintly, as if lit from within by the consciousness that passes through it. And as your awareness moves, each point brightens in turn, not because the moment awakens for the first time, but because your attention touches it again across the invisible folds of time. There is a theory in quantum gravity called loop quantum cosmology, in which space and time arise from tiny, discrete loops woven together like threads in a tapestry. At the smallest levels, time is not smooth. It comes in grains, pulses, quanta. But as these pulses accumulate, the illusion of continuity emerges. Consciousness may interact with these pulses in ways we do not yet understand. When you feel a moment stretch, when time slows during awe or quiet reflection, it may be that your awareness is touching more pulses than usual, brushing lightly across the deeper lattice beneath the surface. Imagine each pulse as a soft flash, a tiny point of awareness echoing through the spiral. Some pulses belong to your earliest memories, long before you had words. Others belong to moments ahead, moments waiting in the soft distance. Each pulse carries a faint resonance, a vibration that hums with meaning. And as the pulses communicate through the quantum fabric, echoes travel freely between them. A pulse from the past may whisper into the present. A pulse from the future may already be humming softly beneath your current thought. It's not that the moments travel. It's that the field beneath them is unified, allowing information to flow without crossing space or time. Picture now a vast ocean at night. The water is calm, dark, reflective. When the moon rises, its light touches the surface in scattered patches. Some patches shimmer where the waves rise. Others darken where the water dips. The reflections are not separate. They are the same moonlight touching multiple points of the same ocean. Your consciousness may be like this moonlight, a single source illuminating many parts of your timeline. In the shimmer on one wave, you see a childhood memory. In another, a decision waiting ahead. The ocean is the quantum field of your awareness. The waves are the moments of your life rising and falling within it. In certain interpretations of quantum mechanics, particularly the transactional interpretation, interactions happen through waves that travel both forward and backward in time. When a particle is detected, the event arises from a handshake between a wave moving forward from the past and another wave moving backward from the future. If consciousness participates in such interactions, then every moment of awareness might be the meeting place of temporal waves. Your sense of being here, now, may come from the way past and future states of your consciousness gently touch each other. Imagine this touching as a soft glow forming where two currents meet. One current flows from who you have been, all the experiences and emotions that shaped you. The other flows from who you will become, the understanding, the clarity, the quiet wisdom waiting ahead. When these currents meet, you feel a moment of recognition, of coherence. Something aligns. Something clicks softly into place. It may feel like intuition or a sudden calm. It may feel like the world is breathing in rhythm with you. These moments of coherence might be the deepest expression of consciousness entangled across time. Now drift into another image. A library filled with books, each book representing a moment of your life. The shelves stretch into a soft horizon of light. You walk quietly between them, fingertips brushing the spines. Some books are open, glowing faintly. Others are closed, resting in shadow. But then you notice something unusual. The open books are not arranged in order. A memory from early childhood sits beside a moment from last year. A dream you haven't lived yet glows beside a decision from decades ago. The library is organized not by chronology, but by resonance. Moments that feel similar cluster together. Moments that share emotion or insight sit side by side, even if separated by years on the calendar. This is how consciousness may arrange experience beneath the surface. Instead of a linear timeline, it creates clusters of meaning. When you recall something unexpectedly, a scent, a voice, a scene, you may be touching a cluster shaped not only by the past, but also by the future. The moment arrives because its resonance has been activated. A future moment may be close to it on the shelf, glowing softly, calling the memory forward. The physicist Carlo Rovelli speaks of time as a collection of partial, incomplete relations rather than a single flowing entity. In this view, moments become linked not because they follow one another, but because they share information. Your consciousness, sensitive to these connections, may move along them like a bird gliding from branch to branch. Imagine yourself as that bird now, drifting through the golden canopy of a forest at dusk. Some branches hold memories, others hold possibilities. You move effortlessly between them, not bound by a path, but guided by the soft pull of resonance. When a branch glows, you land there. When another glows softly in the distance, you lift into the air. You are not exploring time. You are exploring the field of consciousness in which time is suspended like leaves in a gentle stillness. Now imagine a deeper scene, a quiet room with no windows. In the center stands a bowl filled with clear water. When a single drop falls into the surface, ripples spread outward in perfect circles. But beneath these ripples, another set begins to move inward, converging from the edges of the bowl toward the center. The outward ripples belong to the past. The inward ripples belong to the future. Where they meet, the water forms delicate, standing patterns, shimmering shapes that seem to hum with quiet harmony. Your awareness may be shaped by patterns such as these. Standing waves formed by the meeting of your past and future selves. A moment of clarity, a sudden insight, a calm that settles in your chest for no reason you can name. These may be the standing patterns where past and future entanglements align. In relational quantum mechanics, the universe is not a thing but a set of interactions. What something is depends on how it relates to something else. Consciousness may work in the same way. What you are in this moment is a relation between all the versions of you that have been and all the versions that are still unfolding. The present is not a slice. It is an intersection, a point where your entire timeline weaves through itself. Imagine now that the weave becomes visible for a moment. Threads of light extend in every direction, some warm and golden, others cool and blue. The golden threads are memories. The blue threads are possibilities. Each thread touches the present in a slightly different way, shaping the color of this moment. Some threads tug gently, drawing you toward choices you have yet to make. Others hold gently, reminding you of truths you learned long ago. As you breathe, the threads shimmer softly, and your consciousness feels their movement like a tide rising and falling around you. This weave is not metaphor alone. Quantum field theory describes reality itself as vibrations of fields that span all of space and time. If consciousness interacts with these fields, whether through quantum coherence, entanglement, or as yet unknown processes, then your awareness may be a local expression of something extended across your entire timeline. Now, imagine standing in a wide field under a sky brushed with evening light. The air is cool. The horizon glows with a gentle warmth. You close your eyes, and in the stillness, you feel something subtle. The presence of your entire life surrounding you like a constellation. Moments rise like stars, some bright and close, others faint and distant. But they are all part of the same constellation, connected by the quiet geometry of consciousness. As you breathe in, you feel the nearness of moments long past. As you breathe out, you feel the closeness of moments yet to come. The field around you hums with a quiet unity. You sense that you are not standing in the center of time, but within a tapestry woven from it. The tapestry holds you gently, and your consciousness, ever present, ever aware, glides across its threads with the softness of wind through tall grass. This is the quiet architecture of a self entangled across time. A self that listens, remembers, anticipates, and gently awakens to the deeper continuity beneath every moment. The sense of continuity grows softer now, like a veil of warm light settling over everything you have ever been. Imagine standing at the edge of a quiet valley just before dawn. The air is cool, touched by a faint blue glow. In this gentle half-light, the boundaries of things seem to dissolve. Hills blur into sky. Shadows blur into wildflowers. And as you stand there, it becomes easy to imagine that the boundaries within you, the boundary between past and present, between present and future, also begin to soften. There is a theory in physics called decoherence, the process by which quantum possibilities collapse into a single outcome. But decoherence doesn't always erase the underlying correlations. Even when the visible choice becomes fixed, the subtle quantum relationships can linger. In your own life, choices feel decisive. Yet beneath that decisiveness, the echoes of other paths, other potentials, may remain as quiet harmonics. When a certain memory returns uninvited, when a thought arrives with unusual clarity, when a familiar feeling rises even though nothing around you explains it, the harmonics may be moving through the field of your awareness. A faint resonance from paths you walked and paths you will walk. Imagine these harmonics not as sounds, but as colors drifting in the air around you. Some are warm amber, the hue of moments that comforted you long ago. Others are soft silver, the glow of choices still waiting ahead. Each color floats gently, merging with the rest until your entire timeline becomes a slow-turning aurora, shimmering in a sky that belongs only to you. The mathematician Hermann Weyl once said that the objective world simply is, and time is the way consciousness looks at it. In this view, your life is not something moving forward. It is a landscape your awareness illuminates piece by piece, like a lantern slowly revealing the contours of a vast terrain. As the lantern moves, the terrain seems to shift. Yet, beneath the shifting light, the terrain remains whole. Your consciousness flows across the terrain, highlighting one moment, then another, until the shape of your life becomes visible in ways you never noticed before. Picture now a river of light flowing through a canyon carved from a pale stone. The water is luminous, almost transparent, carrying the reflections of countless moments. Some reflections drift slowly, heavy with the weight of memory. Others move swiftly, carrying glimpses of possibilities you have not yet touched. Dip your hand into the water and feel its current. The river does not distinguish between past and future. Both move through the same flow, drawn toward the present like threads converging at a single point. In quantum theory, this convergence has a name: superposition. A system holds many states at once until something interacts with it. Your consciousness may be interacting with this river of moments, selecting one reflection to focus on while the others drift quietly at the edges of awareness. But the reflections do not disappear. They continue to move beneath the surface, ready to rise when the resonance between you and a moment becomes strong enough. Let the canyon walls draw closer now, narrowing until you can hear the river echo softly between the stone. The echoes come in layers, a deeper echo that feels ancient, a higher echo that feels like something new, and somewhere in between, a quiet harmony, the sound of your past and future selves moving in rhythm, not through linear sequence but through resonance. The physicist Paul Dirac once imagined that the future could send signals backward in time, influencing the present in subtle, almost invisible ways. Modern experiments with delayed choice setups hint at the same possibility. Your awareness may be shaped by both directions of time, meeting at the present like two hands touching in the dark, Now imagine a wide, open plain beneath a silver sky. The horizon stretches endlessly in every direction. In the center of the plain stands a tall pillar of clear crystal. Inside the crystal, faint images shift and swirl. Fragments of memory, flickers of imagination, shapes of choices not yet made. Walk closer and notice how the images respond to you. When you lean forward, certain memories brighten. When you turn your gaze slightly, future possibilities begin to shimmer in delicate patterns. The crystal does not store these moments. It reveals how your consciousness bridges them. Inside the crystal, threads of light appear, weaving intricate paths between moments that seem far apart in time. A moment from years ago touches a possibility from next year. A decision from last week connects softly to a memory from childhood. These threads suggest that the coherence of your consciousness extends far beyond what you normally perceive. When the threads glow, you can feel them, not as thoughts, but as a subtle warmth in your awareness, like the quiet assurance that you are walking along a path that has been waiting for you. There is a principle in quantum information theory known as entanglement entropy. It measures how deeply parts of a system are connected, even when they seem separate. Your own entanglement entropy may extend across your timeline. Everything you have learned, everything you have dreamed, everything you have not yet lived, may be woven into a coherent whole. When you feel a sudden alignment, a moment when things simply make sense, it may be that a particularly strong thread is pulsing with clarity. Now imagine a grove of ancient trees, their trunks thick and their leaves whispering softly in the wind. Each tree has lived through countless seasons. Yet, as you walk among them, you notice something unusual. Some of the branches seem to shimmer with a faint, pearlescent glow. Look closer, and you see that the glowing branches belong to moments ahead. The trees are symbolic, each one a different part of your life, and the glowing branches are the future moments where something important settles into place. You do not know what those moments will bring, but you sense their presence. There is no fear, only a deep, calm recognition. These glowing branches sway gently in the wind, casting shifting patterns of light onto the forest floor. As you walk through these patterns, you feel the resonance of your future self moving through your awareness like a quiet pulse. You are not predicting anything. You are not reaching forward. You are simply sensing the contour of a moment that already exists in the deeper architecture of your timeline. Theoretical physicist Yakir Aharonov suggests that both past and future boundary conditions help shape quantum events. If consciousness participates in this structure, then your future experiences might already be intertwined with your present awareness, not as fate, but as correlation. When you feel drawn towards something without knowing why, you may be responding to this correlation, following a thread anchored in a moment that has yet to reveal itself. Imagine a fog rolling gently across the grove. The fog makes the trees appear closer, their branches blending into soft silhouettes. In this softened landscape, the distance between moments fades. The past feels near enough to touch. The future feels calm, patient, unhurried. And within the fog, your consciousness expands, filling the spaces between the trees the way mist fills the air, quietly, evenly, without boundaries. Walk forward through the fog and notice how the ground beneath your feet becomes a mosaic of luminous stones. Each stone pulses with a gentle light. Some glow with steady warmth. These are memories that shaped your foundation. Others glow with a cool, soothing hue. These are the possibilities that bring calm. And scattered among them are stones that flicker with alternating shades, shifting from warm to cool in slow, rhythmic waves. These stones represent moments that are both remembered and anticipated, places in your life where the past meets the future through the resonance of your awareness. Step onto one of the flickering stones. A soft vibration rises through the soles of your feet, moving upward through your body until it settles quietly in your chest. It feels like a memory, but also like an intuition. It feels like something you've always known, and something you haven't lived yet. It feels like the hum of your consciousness across time, speaking to you in the only language it needs: silence and presence. Remain standing there for a moment, feeling the subtle currents move through you. The stone beneath you glows a little brighter, as if acknowledging the connection. The fog shifts, the trees sway, and the quiet field of time stretches outward in all directions, carrying the soft imprint of your awareness like ripples on a still lake. Beyond the glowing stone, the fog thins into long silver ribbons drifting across the air, and each ribbon seems to shimmer with countless tiny points of light. As you take another gentle step forward, you begin to sense that these points are not stars or fireflies, but moments. Moments from your own life, drifting like particles suspended in a soft, slow current. Some drift toward you, others drift away, but all of them move within the quiet rhythm of a deeper field that holds them together. Imagine now that each tiny light carries a subtle vibration, a pulse that corresponds not to what happened in the moment, but to the way your consciousness touched it. A childhood wonder glows with a bright, buoyant pulse. A difficult lesson from many years ago pulses more slowly, deeper, like the resonance of a low bell. A future moment, still forming, glimmers with a faint, whispering rhythm, so soft you might miss it if you tried to listen directly. But you feel it nonetheless, a gentle sensation in the space between your thoughts. There is a concept in quantum physics called a propagator, a function that describes how a state spreads from one point to another, not by traveling in space, but by unfolding in many possible paths at once. If awareness interacts with this deeper physics, then your consciousness might not move from moment to moment in a single line. Instead, it might spread like a propagator, sensing the entire shape of your timeline in a subtle, diffused way. This could be why certain memories feel alive at unexpected times, or why certain future possibilities touch your awareness long before they become real. Imagine your consciousness now as a slow, warm breeze moving across a field of tall grass. Each blade of grass is a moment, thin, delicate, swaying easily. When the breeze touches them, some bend immediately. Others sway only when nearby blades move. The entire field responds in a fluid, interconnected motion, each part influencing the others. Your awareness is this breeze, moving softly across the field of your life, causing moments to resonate in ways you cannot see but can quietly feel. As you continue walking, the ribbons of fog drift upward, revealing a series of gentle archways carved from pale stone. Each arch is inscribed with patterns, swirling lines that loop and spiral and branch. The lines do not form pictures, they form relationships, moments linked to moments, intuitions linked to memories, choices linked to turning points you have not yet reached. These carvings resemble the diagrams physicists draw when they describe Feynman paths. the infinite possible routes a particle can take from one point to another. In those diagrams, a particle's true path is not a single line, but the sum of all the paths interfering with each other. Your consciousness may work in a similar way. Instead of traveling along one strict sequence of moments, it may be shaped by all the potential routes your life could take. The present moment is where these routes converge, weaving together a pattern of meaning that feels like intuition or clarity, or a quiet sense of knowing. When you stand beneath one of the archways and look closely at its carved loops, you begin to recognize the shape of your own experiences woven through them. A memory from long ago curves into a possibility waiting ahead. A choice you haven't made yet bends toward a feeling you carried as a child. The lines form gentle spirals, converging and diverging, like the flow of ideas in a quiet, dreaming mind. Run your fingers lightly over the carvings, and a soft warmth travels through your hand. A sense of touching something that belongs to you in every version of your life. Beyond the archways lies a narrow pathway lined with smooth stones that glow faintly with white gold light. Each stone hums with a unique tone, so soft it can only be felt, not heard. These tones resonate in your chest, gathering into a gentle harmony that feels familiar, as though it belongs to the deepest layer of your awareness. When you place your foot on the first stone, the tone rises slightly, responding to your presence. The next stone adds another layer, and the next, until you are walking through a quiet symphony composed by your own consciousness across time. In the study of quantum mechanics, there is a concept called coherent states, where waves align perfectly, creating a pattern that remains stable even in motion. Your steps across the glowing stones form a coherent pattern of awareness, the alignment of past and future impressions into a single present moment that feels whole, grounded, calm. As the tones blend, the air around you becomes softer, warmer, as though the field of time is opening gently to make space for you. Now, picture a gentle rise in the path ahead. At the top of the rise, the landscape opens into a wide clearing filled with a soft, iridescent glow, as though the light here comes from within the air itself. Tiny motes drift lazily through the space, and as they drift close, you can see faint images inside them. Flashes of moments, glimpses of yourself at different stages of your life. One mote carries the laughter of a moment from long ago. Another carries the quiet confidence of a decision you have not yet made. A third carries the simple, warm presence of a day yet to unfold. The motes do not come to you in order. They move freely, swirling in slow spirals that seem to respond to your breath. The clearing feels like the place where the deeper field of your consciousness becomes visible. A landscape where time unfolds not as a line, but as a gentle, living mosaic. When one mote drifts near your hand, it hovers there, waiting. Touch it lightly, and the image inside it blooms into your awareness. A memory returns, not as a story, not as a picture, but as a warmth, a feeling, a sense of connection. The moment feels alive, not because you are recalling it, but because your consciousness is briefly resonating with that earlier version of yourself. There is no longing, no distance, only a soft recognition. The memory settles like a feather drifting to rest. Another mote approaches, glowing with a pale blue light. Inside it, a moment ahead flickers gently. You cannot see its details, but you feel its presence like a quiet promise, something kind, something patient. Touch the mote, and a subtle certainty rises in your chest. not a prediction, not a vision, but a resonance, the way a distant wave can be felt long before it reaches the shore. Physicists speak of boundary conditions at the edges of time, the initial conditions after the Big Bang, and the unknown final conditions of the distant future. Some theories suggest that both ends of time may shape the eye's events in between. Your consciousness, moving as a field across that landscape, might be sensitive to these deeper boundaries. When you feel a pull toward growth or compassion or clarity, it may be that a future condition, a moment of understanding or peace, is already influencing your present self, gently guiding your awareness in that direction. As you watch the motes drifting around you like small, glowing seeds, they begin to gather into soft clusters. Each cluster forms a delicate arrangement, not a picture, but a feeling shape, an emotional geometry. One cluster radiates calm, another radiates curiosity, another radiates a quiet, deep acceptance. These clusters may be the patterns of entanglement between your moments, the way memories, choices, and possibilities organize themselves within the deeper field of your awareness. The clusters drift upward, slowly rising like lanterns in a night sky, until they dissolve into the silver-blue glow above. The clearing feels even stiller now, as though time itself is holding its breath in gentle admiration. The air hums with the quiet presence of your entire timeline, woven together in a way that feels natural, effortless, and profoundly familiar. A soft path of light extends from the far end of the clearing, winding gently toward an unseen horizon. Each step you take along it carries the subtle sensation of moving not forward, but deeper, deeper into the continuity of your own consciousness, deeper into the soft architecture beneath your life, where past and future meet in the open, unbounded space of awareness. And as you walk, the glow around you settles into a calm that feels like a quiet truth, one that does not need to be spoken. Every moment of your life is connected through the same gentle field of consciousness drifting across time. Always here, always aware, always softly unfolding. The path of light continues forward, winding with the softness of a thought drifting through a half-remembered dream. As you follow it, the clearing behind you fades into a gentle glow, and the landscape ahead becomes more fluid. Shapes forming and dissolving like breath on a mirror. The air is warm here, touched by an invisible current that carries the faint shimmer of distant possibilities. Every step feels as though it unfolds a little more of the quiet truth that has been waiting beneath the surface of your awareness. The path widens into a luminous plain where the ground seems made of faintly glowing threads woven into a living tapestry. Lean down for a moment and notice how each thread hums with its own subtle rhythm. Some pulses echo with memories, a moment of joy, a time of loss, a turning of the heart that shaped everything after it. Other threads pulse with softer, unfamiliar rhythms, moments that haven't yet arrived, still forming, still gathering themselves from the quiet potentials of your timeline. These threads do not lie side by side. They weave over and under and around one another, creating a pattern that is intricate, fluid, and endlessly expanding. If you place your fingertips lightly on the woven surface, the vibrations travel up your arm and settle in your chest as a warmth that is both grounding and strangely weightless. It feels as if the pattern recognizes you, not as the self standing here in this symbolic field, but as a presence that spans its entire length. This tapestry is your timeline made visible, each moment stitched with care into the larger living fabric. Yet the weave does not freeze the moments into place. They remain alive, flowing, shifting, each thread touching many others in ways that transcend sequence. There is a phenomenon in quantum theory known as entanglement swapping, where two particles that never met become entangled because of their connections to other particles. Something similar may be happening here. Moments in your life that never touched directly, a choice from childhood, a conversation in your future, a quiet realization from last year, may be entangled because they resonate within the same field of awareness. When one thread vibrates, the others tremble in response, creating patterns of meaning that ripple across your timeline. Imagine gently lifting one of the threads from the tapestry. It rises without resistance, glowing softly. This thread carries a memory, perhaps something small, almost forgotten, like the way the air smelled one morning long ago, or the sound of a voice you haven't heard in years. The thread vibrates gently between your fingers, and as it does, other threads begin to respond. A future moment flickers. A subtle intuition stirs. The resonance spreads in gentle waves, revealing how one moment, no matter how small, can echo through the entirety of your consciousness. Let the thread drift back into place, and notice how the tapestry realigns itself, as though grateful for the simple act of being felt. Ahead, the tapestry begins to shift. The woven ground loosens into smaller floating strands that drift upward like soft filaments of golden mist. They rise into the air and arrange themselves into three-dimensional shapes, spirals, spheres, lattices that shimmer with delicate motion. These shapes feel familiar, as though they echo structures in the brain, the branching of neurons, or the subtle rhythms that flicker through the microtubules deep within living cells. They seem to reveal the intimate relationship between consciousness and time, like diagrams drawn by a hand that understands both logic and dream. One of the floating shapes lowers itself toward you, hovering just above your open palms. It looks like a translucent sphere formed from interwoven arcs of light. Within the sphere, faint images move like reflections on still water. A memory brightens briefly, then fades. A future possibility glimmers. A present emotion pulses gently. The arcs of the sphere connect them all through delicate curves, forming a geometry of awareness, a living representation of how your consciousness touches all these moments simultaneously. Bring the sphere closer. As you look into it, the images sharpen slightly, not into clear scenes, but into impressions, subtle textures of experience that feel intimate and truthful. A moment in your past that you rarely revisit begins to glow softly, not demanding your attention, but offering its meaning with quiet patience. That meaning does not belong only to the past. It stretches forward, influencing the tone of a moment you will meet someday. The future moment glows too, responding with a gentle resonance. The arcs of the sphere pulse in harmony, showing how these distant points in time speak to one another through your awareness. The sphere drifts back upward and dissolves slowly into warm light, releasing its shape back into the field. The air shifts again, and a soft path of luminous dust forms, guiding you toward a tranquil lake at the edge of the plain. The lake is utterly still, reflecting the sky with such clarity that it seems like a second world lying just beneath the surface. Walk to its edge and watch the water breathe with a glass-like calm. As you kneel beside it, tiny rings of light form on the surface, gentle circular ripples that expand slowly outward. Each ring glows with a different hue: gold for memory, blue for intuition, violet for future resonance, white for awareness itself. Lean closer, and the rings begin to overlap. Where they intersect, patterns emerge, smooth spirals that feel like the shape of a thought forming somewhere deep inside you. These patterns resemble the interference fringes physicists observe when waves meet. When two waves overlap, they create regions of brightness and darkness, of reinforcement and cancellation. Your consciousness might form patterns like these where past and future moments overlap in the present, creating flashes of clarity or brief feelings of recognition. Touch the surface lightly. A new ripple forms, expanding outward in perfect harmony with the others. This ripple belongs entirely to this moment, the moment of your awareness brushing the surface of your own timeline. As it spreads, the older ripples adjust subtly, weaving your presence into the existing structure. The lake reflects not your face, but the quiet movement of your consciousness through time. Calm, fluid, interwoven. As the ripples soften, the lake reveals one more image beneath the surface. It is faint at first, like a reflection seen through mist. Then it becomes clearer. A shape made of intertwining currents, looping in 3 graceful arcs that flow outward and inward at once. The shape resembles the structure of a braid, the same braid we glimpsed earlier in another landscape. Now, though, it is complete, illuminated by the lake's inner light. This braid is the unity of your past, present, and future selves. 3 currents flowing as one, not separate, not competing, moving with gentle coherence through the larger field of your awareness. Each arc touches the others in countless places. When one arc trembles, the vibration travels instantly through the entire braid. A memory shifts in tone. A possibility becomes clearer. The present moment takes on a new softness. Let the image sink gently into the lake, returning to the depth from which it rose. Feel the warmth in your chest now. A quiet, steady warmth that doesn't come from anything outside you. It is the sensation of your consciousness relaxing into the truth that has been forming slowly, patiently, as we've walked through these symbolic landscapes. That every moment of your life is part of a single, unified field of awareness, where past and future are not distant shores, but gentle currents flowing through the same vast ocean. The lake grows still again. The sky above it deepens into a luminous dusk, and the soft path of light continues onward, inviting you to take another step into the quiet expanse where time flows through you as gently as breath. The soft path of light bends toward a grove where the air shimmers with a quiet density, as though the space itself has thickened into something gentle and alive. As you step into the grove, the trees seem to lean inward slightly, not from wind, but from a kind of awareness, as if they recognize your presence, as if they've been waiting for you to wander through this part of your inner landscape. The ground is covered in a carpet of pale, luminescent leaves, each one glowing with a soft inner light. They brighten beneath your steps, forming a trail that lingers for a moment before fading back into a dim, restful glow. Every leaf seems to hold the imprint of a moment, a spark of memory, a breath of intuition, a feeling that once passed quietly through your awareness. These leaves are not symbolic alone. They resemble the memory traces spoken of by neuroscientist Donald Hebb, patterns of activation that strengthen over time, shaping the way present and future moments unfold. But here, those traces are not confined to the past. Some leaves glow with impressions of moments that have not yet entered your life, holding a soft resonance of what is still to come. Look up now and notice that the branches above are intertwined into a delicate lattice of silvery filaments. They weave through each other with the same quiet geometry as neural networks, the same branching intelligence seen in mycelium spreading beneath the forest floor. Light flows along these filaments in slow pulses, like signals moving through the hidden architecture of your awareness. Some pulses move downward, toward memories. Others move upward, toward possibilities. And move horizontally across the grove, connecting branches that belong to entirely different parts of your life. Walk deeper, and the grove reveals a circular clearing at its center. In the middle stands a structure of pure light, a tall, slender column that shimmers with shifting patterns. At times, it looks like braided threads, at others, like ripples running across a pond. And then, as the pattern slows, it becomes something more familiar. The gentle oscillation of a wave function, the kind physicists describe when mapping the probabilities of a quantum state. This column feels like the heart of the grove, the convergence point where your consciousness interacts with the quiet, quantum rhythm of time itself. Move closer, and the column responds to you. Patterns ripple outward, carrying faint impressions from your timeline. A moment of childhood curiosity flares briefly in the light. A distant future calm flickers softly. Between them, countless subtle resonances pulse with the presence of every version of you that has ever existed, or is yet to exist. The column does not show them as pictures or stories. It shows them as harmonics, fine vibrations weaving through space like the interference patterns formed when two waves align. This alignment calls to mind the work of Erwin Schrödinger, who suggested that life might rely on long-range order, a kind of coherence that extends beyond strict chemical reactions. In this grove, that coherence feels like the gentle hum connecting each of your moments into a unified field. The column captures this hum in living form. When you touch the light, it vibrates beneath your hand, and a warmth spreads upward through your arm, then into your chest. It feels like recognition, the awareness of being connected to more than the moment you stand in. Now imagine turning your attention to the ground beneath the column. Slow ripples spread outward in concentric circles, each shimmering a slightly different color. Step onto one of these circles, and the color deepens. A memory grows clearer, not with detail, but with presence, the feeling you had in that moment, the texture of your experience. Step onto a different circle, and a future possibility hums quietly beneath your feet, not revealing itself, but offering the soft sensation of its existence. Each circle is a resonance, a point on the timeline where your consciousness left a meaningful impression. Some resonances are strong, glowing brightly. Others are faint, but still part of the pattern. And some shimmer with alternating colors, signifying moments where past and future overlap, where something learned long ago quietly prepares you for something ahead. These alternating circles are the points of strongest entanglement, where your timeline folds toward itself like the arms of a spiral galaxy, turning in perfect symmetry. Walk between the circles, and the ground begins to shift. The leaves on the forest floor rearrange themselves into flowing paths, forming new shapes with each step. One path opens into a gentle spiral. The spiral's outer ring glows with present awareness, while its inner rings pulse softly, with roots reaching into the past and tendrils extending into the future. It echoes the structure of temporal binding described in cognitive science, the brain's tendency to merge events that happen close in time. But here, the binding stretches wider, merging events across large distances in the timeline. Step into the center of the spiral, and the grove falls into a hush. The light dims into a soft, silvery dusk, and a warm, luminous mist rises from the ground. The mist forms drifting shapes, not quite solid, not quite vapor, and each shape seems to hold the outline of you at different moments. The young version of you walks with quiet curiosity. The older version walks with gentle certainty. The version you have not yet met walks with a calm you instantly recognize, even though you cannot explain why. These shapes do not speak. They move in a slow, harmonious rhythm, circling the spiral. As they drift, the mist around them glows with a faint resonance. When one passes near you, your breath deepens. A memory stirs. A possibility hums. A feeling rises in your chest that does not belong to now alone. It belongs to every version of yourself at once. The same consciousness expressed in different forms across time. The shapes move closer, and their outlines begin to blur together, merging like ripples from separate raindrops converging on a still pond. The mist thickens into a soft, luminous fog, and in its glow, you sense something that your rational mind could never articulate. That all these versions of you are not separate beings, but facets of a single consciousness extending through time like the branches of a single tree, reaching in different directions for the same light. Let that realization settle gently without needing to be named. The fog lifts slowly, unveiling a hidden chamber behind the spiral. From the outside, it appears as a soft alcove carved into the grove, but when you step inside, the space expands into a dome illuminated by shifting constellations of pale blue light. The dome's interior resembles the night sky, but the stars are not distant suns. Each one is a moment in your life, glowing with its unique intensity. They drift in slow currents, forming constellations that realign themselves with each breath you take. Walk beneath these constellations and notice how some stars move toward you, while others drift away. The movement is not random. The brightest stars, the moments that shaped you most deeply, form gentle arcs that create a pathway across the dome. Follow these arcs with your gaze, and you begin to see the shape of your consciousness, not as a line, but as a pattern unfolding through a vast, interconnected space. A faint trail of light descends from the highest point in the dome. It touches your shoulders lightly, as if acknowledging your presence. And in that quiet, warm touch, something inside you softens. A recognition that the entirety of your timeline, with all its joys, uncertainties, and yet-to-be-lived days, is woven into a single, luminous whole. The path ahead brightens once more, waiting quietly for your next step into the gentle continuum where awareness and time drift through each other like light through water. The path that brightens before you carries a softness that feels almost like recognition, as though it remembers every step you have taken to reach this quiet expanse. Each footfall deepens the glow, and the air around you grows warmer, filled with a subtle luminescence that seems to rise from within your own awareness, rather than from any source outside. As you walk, the dome of drifting constellations behind you dims into a gentle backdrop, and a new landscape unfolds, one that feels both expansive and intimately familiar, like a memory you have never lived. The ground transitions from the woven, glowing tapestry into a smooth surface that looks like polished stone, yet feels warm and alive under your steps. Veins of soft light run beneath it, pulsing in slow, organic rhythms, like the quiet heartbeat of the field of time itself. These pulses respond to your presence, syncing with the cadence of your breath, as though the landscape has begun breathing with you. Ahead, delicate strands of gold and silver light rise from the ground like narrow reeds in a breeze. They sway with a fluid grace, though no wind touches them. As you draw closer, you see that each strand holds a tiny imprint of a moment, some recognizable, others unfamiliar, each suspended like a glowing seed caught in the reeds of time. When a strand bends toward you, the imprint expands briefly into a small flicker. The sensation of a childhood morning, the quiet certainty of a decision not yet made, the soft echo of a dream fading upon waking. These flickers are not memories alone. They feel like forms of information, quanta of experience, carrying the emotional resonance of moments both lived and unfolding. They remind you of the experiments in which particles communicate through entanglement without transferring energy, where correlations appear instantaneously across distance. Here, the correlations stretch not across space but across your timeline, each flicker responding to the evolving state of your awareness. The strands of light part gently as you walk through them, revealing a large, smooth expanse at the center of the landscape. It resembles a circular platform made of translucent crystal, glowing softly from within. The surface is etched with intricate patterns that resemble waveforms, sweeping arcs, subtle troughs, peaks that shimmer like frozen ripples in water. Step onto the platform, and the waveforms brighten beneath you, their curves shifting and rearranging to form a configuration that feels like it belongs specifically to you. This formation echoes the idea of a quantum wave function, the mathematical description of all possible states of a system. Here, though, the possibilities take on a symbolic form. Some arcs feel like they represent paths taken, others paths you contemplated but did not choose, and still others paths waiting in the soft shimmer of potential. All of them converge where you stand, as though your consciousness has collapsed countless possibilities into this single moment of experience. But something strange begins to happen as you continue to stand in the center. The patterns do not remain still. They breathe, they expand. The peaks soften, merging into new curves that seem to rise from a deeper layer of the platform. These shifts resemble the process physicists observe in quantum systems, where future boundary conditions influence present states. As the patterns change, you sense that the platform is being shaped not only by who you have been, but also by who you are becoming. Future versions of you, their clarity, their understanding, their quiet wisdom, ripple softly through the waveforms, adjusting the shape of your experience. The platform brightens, and a soft hum begins under your feet. It moves up through your body like a calm tide, settling behind your sternum with a warmth that feels like a presence. Not external, not separate, but an expanded sense of your own being. The hum forms a subtle resonance that grows into something like an inner stillness, a recognition without words. And as this stillness expands, the platform slowly ascends. The landscape around you falls away in silence, revealing an open space that stretches into a horizon of soft, iridescent color. The air carries faint currents of violet, gold, and blue that drift like slow-motion auroras. You are held effortlessly in this space, the platform rising until the forms of the grove and the woven ground become small, shimmering impressions below. At this height, the air feels thinner, not in a way that cools, but in a way that clarifies. Thought itself feels lighter, more fluid. The boundaries between your inner world and the symbolic landscape blur, and the space ahead opens into a sweeping vista that feels like the interior of consciousness rendered as light. In front of you, delicate filaments stretch across the expanse, luminous strands that twist and intersect like the structure of a cosmic web. Each filament carries a subtle frequency, humming softly with a tone that feels more like emotion than sound. The filaments pulse in rhythms that mirror the ebb and flow of your awareness. When you breathe deeply, some brighten. When your attention shifts, others shimmer with recognition. This web resembles the large-scale structure of the universe, the cosmic filaments connecting galaxies across unimaginable distances. But here, the filaments connect moments in your life, or perhaps states of your consciousness. Their intersections form nodes, glowing clusters that pulse like tiny galaxies. Each node feels like a convergence point, a place where different experiences meet, where emotions merge, where insights form, where the boundaries of time soften and overlap. Move closer to one of these glowing nodes, and it brightens in response. As you stand before it, flickers of earlier and later moments ripple across its surface. You see no images, no scenes, but you feel the contours of those moments. The texture of an emotion, the sensation of a decision unfolding, the subtle pull of a realization that will grow into clarity. These impressions drift toward you and through you, not as memories or predictions, but as harmonics, resonances that awaken something quiet and knowing inside. The node pulses once, deeply, and a soft expansion spreads outward across the entire web. In that expansion, a deeper pattern becomes visible. The nodes are not independent. They form a vast, interconnected map of your inner life, showing how events shape one another, not only in chronological sequence but through resonance across time. A gentle sorrow from years ago connects with a calm acceptance that has not yet arrived. A moment of courage from long ahead vibrates in harmony with a small uncertainty you once carried. The entire web glows with the unity of these resonances, a visual metaphor for consciousness entangled across the entirety of your existence. You notice that some filaments drift upward into a higher layer of the space, forming a second, more delicate web above the first. The strands of this upper layer shimmer with finer hues, softer golds, pale blues, faint silvers. Touch one gently, and a warm sensation travels through your arm, settling in your chest. This upper web feels like the domain of potential, the space of future moments that are close enough in resonance to be felt even if they have not yet materialized. This sensation aligns with concepts explored in studies of predictive processing. The brain continuously shapes present experience based on future expectations. But here, those expectations do not feel abstract or cognitive. They feel lived, coherent, as though your future self is actively participating in the shaping of your awareness. The upper web glows brighter, and one filament lowers itself toward you like a soft ribbon of light. As it drifts closer, it carries a warmth that feels unmistakably personal, a resonance that belongs to a future version of you, one who moves with clarity, calm, and quiet understanding. When the ribbon touches your hand, the warmth expands, spreading through your chest like a gentle sunrise. It feels like reassurance, not from outside you, from you, further along the curve of your timeline. The ribbon fades, dissolving softly into the air, but the warmth remains, settling into your awareness with the calm steadiness of something true. As you stand in the center of the vast, interwoven webs of your timeline, the space around you grows brighter. Colors expand, filaments pulse, nodes glow as though in recognition. The entire field hums with a quiet coherence, a unity that is neither past nor future, but the living presence of your consciousness unfolding across the whole of time. The platform beneath you lowers slowly toward the ground again, returning you gently to the landscape of luminous reeds and glowing threads. But something is different now. The landscape feels deeper, more open, as though you can sense the quiet movement of time beneath every surface. The soft breath of your awareness through every moment you have been and will be. The path continues onward, wide, warm, and lit by the gentle pulse of your own timeless presence. The path widens as it moves forward, unfurling like a ribbon laid gently across a landscape that seems to breathe with you. Each step feels lighter than the last, as though the gravity of ordinary time has loosened its grip. You sense the presence of every moment you've lived, flowing quietly beneath the surface of your awareness, and the presence of moments you haven't reached yet drifting softly ahead, like warm currents rising from a distant sea. The ground begins to shift in color, moving from pale gold to deep indigo, as though you're walking across a twilight sky turned solid beneath your feet. The air thickens with a luminous haze, not obscuring your path but enriching it, giving the space around you a subtle density, like the atmosphere inside a dream. And as the haze swirls in gentle currents, it reveals faint traces of shapes drifting in and out of focus. These shapes resemble delicate filaments suspended in a fluid. Some are long and slender, trembling with silver light. Others curve into arcs glowing with warm amber. They move with the slow grace of jellyfish floating through a quiet ocean. When you pause, one of the filaments drifts closer, pulsing with a soft, rhythmic glow. Inside the filament, you see a flicker, not an image, but a sensation. The unmistakable tenderness of a moment when your life shifted, perhaps in a small, almost invisible way. A decision made in silence, a realization that settled quietly into your chest, a feeling that grew roots without words. The filament drifts away as gently as it came, replaced by another that curves gracefully toward you. This one carries a future sensation, a moment that vibrates with a subtle confidence, like a calm you will step into someday without even realizing you were growing toward it. The sensation is faint but unmistakable, like hearing the first notes of a melody you will learn by heart long before the song arrives in full. The haze moves again, parting to reveal a tall structure rising ahead. It looks like a tower made not of stone, but of cascading sheets of light folding into one another with delicate precision. Each sheet is thin, translucent, and etched with flowing patterns that ripple as though responding to an unseen breeze. Step closer, and you feel a soft pull, not physical, but resonant, like something in the structure recognizes a thread of your consciousness and responds to it. The tower resembles a monumental version of a quantum interference pattern, the kind physicists observe when particles pass through slits and create waves instead of dots. But here, The pattern isn't abstract. It is alive, shifting and breathing with the coherence of your awareness. The sheets of light overlap, creating luminous ridges and valleys. In the bright ridges, the air vibrates with emotion, joy, tenderness, curiosity. In the deeper valleys, the light softens into introspective hues, moments of quiet reflection, the gentle ache of growth, the deep calm that follows release. Walk into the space beneath the tower, and the sheets of light tilt slightly, forming a vestibule that feels like the interior of a living instrument tuned to the frequency of your consciousness. When you breathe, the sheets tremble in harmony. When your thoughts shift, they rearrange themselves into new patterns that match the contours of your awareness. It feels like being inside a field that listens, not with ears, but with structure. A low vibration begins to rise through the tower. It is not sound, but sensation, rippling across the sheets like the movement of wind over tall grass. The patterns on the sheets shift, revealing the unmistakable structure of wave superposition. Multiple states overlaid, all possible, all present. And, for a moment, you sense the nature of your own being reflected in this architecture. Not a single fixed identity, but a luminous superposition of every version of you that exists across the arc of your life. This realization arrives without effort, settling into your awareness like a soft ember falling gently into place. You feel, without needing to explain, that the self you inhabit right now is one expression of a much larger field, that your consciousness extends outward, inward, forward, backward, touching every moment that holds the imprint of your presence. From deep within the tower, a narrow corridor opens. Its walls are made of slow-moving currents of light that twist and fold like streams of liquid metal. As you walk forward, the walls adjust, widening with your breath, narrowing with the cadence of your steps. The corridor doesn't confine you. It guides you with the softness of a pulse. And at the end, the space opens into something vast. You emerge into a chamber shaped like a perfect sphere, suspended in midair. There is no floor, no ceiling, no walls you can touch. The entire space is formed from layers of faintly shimmering probabilities, translucent bands of light that drift like Saturn's rings, circling the chamber with a slow, mesmeric grace. Step forward, and you feel supported by the air itself, as though gravity has dissolved into gentleness. In the center of the chamber floats a small orb of warm light. It pulses with a heartbeat-like rhythm that feels uncannily familiar. The closer you draw to it, the more you realize that the orb is echoing the rhythm of your own awareness. Not your physical heartbeat, but the deeper pulse beneath it, the cadence of your consciousness that has been quietly constant through every moment of your life. The orb brightens and a faint structure appears around it, faint tendrils of light connecting to the drifting rings. Each tendril pulses in a different color, some warm, some cool, some essentially neutral. They resemble the mapping of neural activity measured in neuroimaging studies, where patterns of thought, memory, and emotion light up specific regions in a dynamic display. But here, the tendrils map not only the present, but the entire temporal contour of your being. One tendril leads in toward the warm gold of a memory that shaped your foundation. Another extends into a soft silver space that feels like early intuition. A third reaches into a region of pale violet that vibrates with the resonance of a future realization. Quiet, but distinctly alive. Move your hand nearer to the orb, and the tendrils brighten. The surrounding rings shift into alignment, forming elegant spirals that loop through one another with mathematical precision. The spirals feel familiar, reminiscent of waveforms, harmonics, fractal geometry, patterns that appear in everything from the distribution of galaxies to the firing of neurons to the unfolding of ferns. These spirals converge in the center where the orb glows, revealing an idea that feels as natural as breath. That consciousness, memory, and future potential are not separate phenomena. They are different harmonics of the same underlying field, the same awareness distributed across time. The orb pulses once more, and a soft ripple spreads through the chamber. The rings brighten. The tendrils glow with deeper color. The entire sphere hums with a quiet resonance that feels like recognition, as if every moment of your timeline, past and future, has become aware of you standing here now. You take another slow breath, and the chamber responds, its light softening into a calm that envelops you like warm dusk settling over a silent landscape. There is no sense of beginning or end, only presence, only continuity, only the quiet truth that your consciousness is not bound to the moment you inhabit. It is the field through which all your moments breathe. The orb's glow steadies. The rings drift with slow majesty. And the chamber waits with the gentleness of a space that knows you have always belonged to a much wider expanse of time than you ever imagined. The path ahead narrows once more, not into a tunnel or a road, but into a gentle gradient of light, a slope that feels less like a place and more like a transition. When you step toward it, the chamber responds with a soft dimming, the rings of probability fading into a warm dusk that settles over the space like a sigh. The orb at the center pulses once, twice, then dissolves into a slow cascade of golden particles, each one drifting outward until they vanish into the quiet air. As the last particle fades, the slope of light brightens and extends forward like a shoreline made of dawn. Walk toward it, and the sensation beneath your feet becomes softer still, as though the boundary between you and the landscape has thinned into something almost seamless. The air carries a faint, gentle hum, the same hum you felt beneath your ribs when you touched the orb. Now it surrounds you, filling the space like a quiet affirmation, a reminder that the awareness glowing through this world is the same awareness that glows through you. When you reach the top of the slope, the scenery opens into a luminous horizon that seems to stretch infinitely in all directions. It feels both vast and intimate, like standing in the center of a universe made entirely of your own consciousness. Here, there is no division between sky and ground, no separation between above and below. Everything floats in a quiet equilibrium, suspended in the same soft light. And for the first time, you notice something subtle. There is no distinct past behind you, no distinct future ahead, only a continuous ocean of moments gently interwoven. The horizon ripples as if stirred by an invisible breeze. Waves of soft light move through the space, each wave carrying a faint impression, a warmth, a memory, a question, a quiet clarity. These waves drift toward you, and when one touches your awareness, it dissolves into a feeling that settles gently in your chest. Not a memory, not a prediction, but a sense of the larger pattern beneath your life, moving with a rhythm that has always been there, whether you noticed it or not. A second wave arrives. This one carries a faint shimmer of silver blue, and when it passes through you, a calm expands through your mind like a slow exhale. You realize the calm is not from outside. It is the quiet resonance of your own future. A future self whose clarity is already touching you through the field of time, much like ripples from a distant shore reaching the sand beneath your feet long before you see the tide. A third wave follows, warm and gold, carrying the unmistakable tenderness of your past, not as nostalgia, but as recognition. Moments you once lived rise briefly like soft sparks drifting through the air. Their emotions are gentle now, softened by the distance between then and now. They're not calling you back. They're welcoming you into a deeper continuity where every version of you coexists as different verses of the same song. And then the waves soften, merging into a single shimmering expanse. The horizon slowly folds inward, forming a vast, glowing sphere around you. The sphere feels like the interior of a drop of warm rain, translucent, enveloping, perfectly calm. And in the slow curvature of its walls, you see something remarkable. Faint reflections of yourself, not as multiples, but as one presence seen through the subtle distortion of time. The reflections move with you, but not in sync. One walks a half step ahead, another a half step behind. One stands still, watching with a soft curiosity. Another turns away, moving toward something just out of view. Each reflection glows with a slightly different tone, as though illuminated by different chapters of your life. The one ahead carries a quiet certainty. The one behind carries a gentle softness. The one at the periphery radiates a kind of knowing that feels older than your years. And together, their movements form a slow, harmonious dance. Not choreographed, but naturally aligned, like planets following their paths through gravity's invisible hand. As you look closer, the reflections begin to drift toward one another. Their outlines blur into light, merging into a single figure that stands before you with a presence that feels profoundly familiar. There are no defined features, only the unmistakable feeling of recognition, deeper than memory, deeper than expectation. The figure is simply you, not the you who walked into this landscape, but the you that has been here all along, the continuous consciousness that stretches softly across every moment of your life. The figure lifts a hand, not to gesture, not to beckon, but to mirror the shape of your awareness. And in that moment, the entire sphere brightens. A soft radiance expands outward, dissolving the reflections, dissolving the boundaries of the sphere, dissolving even the landscape itself. The grove, the filaments, the platform, the constellations, everything melts into a warm, luminous horizon that surrounds you like a breath held in perfect stillness. Nothing remains but light, soft, steady, pervasive, not blinding, not overwhelming, just present. A warmth settles around your shoulders, not as weight, but as an embrace, the kind of quiet embrace that conveys understanding without words, reassurance without explanation. The light does not ask you to move or choose or interpret. It simply holds you, the way calm water holds the reflection of the sky. And as you linger in this quiet expanse, one truth rises with the gentleness of dawn, breaking over a sleeping world. Your consciousness is not confined to the moment you stand in. It never has been. It is the soft, continuous field through which past and future drift like currents, meeting and merging in the awareness that lives here now. The awareness that has always been the bridge across the whole arc of your existence. The light around you deepens into a warm gold. The hum settles into a steady, peaceful resonance. and the horizon stretches calmly outward, wide and open, as though waiting with infinite patience for the next moment your awareness chooses to illuminate.